specifically about the intersection here of private land, development, and these historic sites. What's the challenge of trying to preserve places while we are growing so quickly?
Well, we looking at the importance of the locations and all. And so is there a way to come up with a plan, like do open space set aside as part of the development? It adds to the value of the development. There's a Broken Mesa Park, which is over in one of the developments off of the Southern Parkway, new developments. Big petroglyph boulders there, and they just incorporate it as part of a neighborhood pocket park. There's some other petroglyph boulders, and I believe they're going to be in just open space set-asides. But here they've got petroglyph boulders, little trail around them, and here's the swing sets right next to them for the kids and everything. So you're sort of seizing on an opportunity instead of like, this is in the way, or this is mine, I'm just going to bulldoze it out of the way. It's like, no, most people don't want to do that. So what we're trying to do is say, hey, can we come up with a voluntary way? We got an ordinance over in Hurricane, and they were doing a open space ordinance and basically land use ordinances, because Hurricane's just growing like crazy, and so they were trying to figure out, okay, how are we going to maybe manage this? And so we basically said, on a voluntary basis, landowners are encouraged to figure out a way, is like, can this be open space set aside within the development itself? Same thing here in St. George. We've had successful cases of doing like the Broken Mesa Park, it's included in there, or other places here in the city that it's still there's private property development going ahead, but then as part of the development they decided, okay, we're going to make this city open space, and that's where city staff's been great, figuring out, okay, this is important, let's do this as open space, and then ultimately that can be deeded to the city and then protected in perpetuity as open space, which happens to have cultural resources in it. So is there a way to serve quality development, keep the character of St. George, the beauty of this place, and that's why people keep moving here, so spectacular, and then either we come up with actually a city ordinance that sort of codifies that, following the lead of many other municipalities and counties, so it's not like we're just pulling this out of our hats or whatever. It's just like, hey, here's an opportunity to use other examples, and it doesn't stop development. It's like Phoenix Metro is 5 million people, and it didn't stop growing because of the ordinance they've had for decades. It's actually led to more quality development. I was involved with some places where big developments were coming in, and we had the archaeological information, they actually did inventories, and then they were able to plan their open space around those. And so you see these beautiful desert developments with nice beautiful desert, and by the way, these important archaeological sites are protected. So is there a way to bring all those things together? St. George, we definitely have that opportunity, and the city has been utilizing that possibility, and we just want to keep moving forward. The case here with the petroglyph boulder, it was one that we were trying to have in the works, and it just hadn't quite got there. And then the earth movers came in, and they were great. They're like, oh no, this is important, we just moved it out of harm's way. So the way it all went down is not necessarily the perfect way, because the idea is you have a checklist ahead of time, or we don't like reacting, we like being proactive. And so we've been trying to work with Southern Paiute, their concerns, Hopi, their concerns, different people, but also like, how can we work with the existing city regulations, and then if need be, can we get an ordinance added perhaps? A lot of times it is this volunteer, like, oh no, that's a great idea, we'll work on that. So because people do recognize the importance of a place like this. I mean, the people who are developing Bloomington, they're like, this is amazing, and we're like, yeah, this is amazing. And so now it's like, we've been here for however many minutes or an hour now, and we've had all kinds of people just stopping in to check it out. Like, how do they find it? First off, it's in a neighborhood, but I guess that's what Google Maps is for. But yeah, anyway.
I think it demonstrates that people do care about these spaces when they understand the value. Like the people you've been speaking with seem to have a pretty strong understanding of the significance.
Indeed.
I know you had mentioned a few different educational opportunities. What's the importance of people who live here, who are from this area, to understand what these spaces mean to our community, to our broader culture, and of course to our native populations.
Well, super important because it is Paiute homelands, and their traditional views very important. And a lot of times you get talking, and everybody's nodding their heads yes, because they definitely appreciate the importance of this location here. I mean, I've had local Cub Scout groups. They're like, "Hey, Greg, can you come and do a little, can our Cub Scouts come here? Can you do a talk here?" And so we'll try and do that education with kids, because it's like the importance of school groups. Like fourth grade, they do history, and it's just like, hey, this would be a great one. And so that's where some of these sites, like this one here, totally lend themselves to educational outreach. But yeah, the traditional view is the people who made these petroglyphs or artifacts or sites or whatever, they're still here. Their spirits are still there. They're still using it. So super important. It needs to be respected. And then just most people just respect it just because it's totally amazing. It's not graffiti. And then back to what I said about it's not necessarily raw art. No, this is ceremony. This is and so how do we be aware of that? What Todd had said, it's just like the analogy of not, disrespecting some other place important to another culture. Let's be human. Let's be compassionate. Let's be respectful. But mostly because here it's such an amazing place. Like here's another group waiting for us to get done so they can come over and look at it, kind of thing. So
that's great. And then just my final question would be just to go back around to the ordinance that's in the process of going through all of the legality here. When I spoke with the state, they said there's no legal obligation to report finding something on your private land. Would this ordinance aim to change that or bridge the gap in some way so you can come in, people who do have this knowledge can come in and help figure out a solution?
Yes, and so that's the when you're working for the state, working for an agency, you have to be careful in your word choice. And they could have said there is no current requirement, but if we were down in Arizona, Phoenix, Tucson, Pima County, Pinal County, Maricopa County, Scottsdale, Arizona, all kinds of places have existing ordinances. So it's not like we're just, like I said, making this up. And so right now it's more like, hey, this is super important. And we've had that. We've had landowners reach out to us like, I've got all this, like, oh man, this is great. And so then we follow up from there. So that's what we encourage. It's just like, yeah, there may not be a legal requirement in St. George right now, but let's go to a higher bar basically. And then it's just like most people are like, yeah, we think this is important. What can we do? Or hey, we really want to develop this. What can we do? And that's where we've worked with landowners, we've worked with agencies, we've worked with developers or construction crews or whatever. How do we make this work? And meanwhile, keeping the place whole whenever possible, but also letting the project move ahead. And so St. George has tools in place in a way through planning and zoning that they could be doing it that way. We have a hillside ordinance, so a lot of these areas would be protected just by the hillside ordinance. So saying that they have no legal, that's maybe technically correct, but again, it's like how do we sort of serve the value of these places, and that's always.
Is there anything else you want to add? I'm just going to move this back. Anything else you feel like we didn't cover or you'd like to add before we wrap up?
Just appreciate everyone watching out for these and give us a holler. Get with the city. If you're a landowner, if you're a private property owner, developer, construction crew, whatever, just be cognizant, and that any extra effort, respect, that sort of thing that goes to these places is greatly appreciated by the elders, Southern Paiute, Hopi, archaeologists, city staff. But yeah, reach out, give a holler, and we're happy to come out, volunteers, and see what we can figure out.